Good morning, my name is Tom, and today's video is about Wesley Routh, and there's quite a bit to cover. I'll try to keep it short and sweet, but it's worth paying attention to. So, let's see, what do we know about Mr. Routh, who is in custody for the alleged attempt on the former president's life yesterday? It seems he owns a Honolulu-based construction company where he builds tiny homes or specializes in tiny homes, and he's donated at least one to the homeless. Whether or not he's donated more, I don't know, but at least there's some civic engagement there in a positive sense. That matters. We'll get into that in a bit. Let's see. He's an avid Trump critic. He's a avid Ukraine supporter. He's gone to try rallying people to join the Foreign Legion or to join humanitarian organizations in support of Ukraine. However, in the more aggressive sense, when it comes to online posts, let's see, said things like we need to burn the Kremlin to the ground and Putin is a terrorist that needs to be ended. Okay, so got positive civic engagement and negative civic engagement here going on. Like, when I say negative, I mean aggressive, violent. Let's see. Problems in the past with law enforcement. In 2002, while pulled over, he was arrested after putting his hand on a firearm before barricading himself in a local business. I don't have the series of events there, just that's what the reporting said. And let's see, he's lost multiple civil lawsuits in that time period and had a serious issue with failing to pay taxes, both state and federal, for which his wages would be garnished. Okay, so what do we got going on here? Here's a breakdown, because I can't really say I know exactly what problems are involved here. The clues are there. And I'll say this as somebody in construction, because, in construction, there's a lot of people who have problems. And because of those problems, they're not very good at regulating their emotions, especially when it comes to things that trigger defense mechanisms. Go to anger really quick. And it's very normalized in construction. It's the gotta be an alpha male, tough guy shtick. It's a thing. It exists. And to the point where the construction tends to borrow a lot of really bad colloquialisms from the military, like, you're not a real, whether it's electrician or pipe fitter or carpenter, you're not a real whatever until you have 2 DUIs or until you have a DUI and a divorce. So, there's a lot of promotion of the problem. Now, this doesn't mean he's an alcoholic or an addict, but it does mean he's immersed in a very codependent industry where people enable each other's bad behaviors and encourage each other to not regulate their emotions, particularly anger, in a healthy fashion. All right, let's see. He wants to help Ukraine. Okay, I can be down with that idea and rally, but the Ukraine military has concerns from him. Some say, well, they believe he was mostly a naive but well-meaning person, and others saying, there's something wrong with this guy. He makes promises that we knew he couldn't keep and were unrealistic, and we didn't really associate with him. So they saw something was wrong, but they said it very politely. Now, despite his positive engagement, the local hero donating tiny homes to, homeless people and, supporting humanitarian aid and stuff like that, well, there's that desire to fix problems in the more aggressive fashion. Burning Kremlin to the ground and ending Putin. Basically, he's got a lot of hero fantasy going on. It's no different than the guy who thinks it's a good idea to bring his firearm to a bar or a nightclub, just in case, after the Pulse nightclub, I could have saved people's lives if I was there with my firearm. Or, the alcoholic dad who shouldn't have a gun in the first place because he's an alcoholic, is taking his firearm to his son's football game or his daughter's volleyball game because, in case there's a mass incident at the school, he's going to save his children. Or the person who sleeps with it because I got to protect my family in case the home's invaded. It's all hero fantasy and it's all very unhealthy. So then there's the 2002 pullover, and there hadn't been much violence in the records provided, but that whole, you get stopped by the cop and you put your hand on your piece, that's bad. Like where I come from, when you get pulled over by the cops, you keep your hands on the steering wheel in plain sight. If you're in a violent area and you're not the driver, like you're in the front seat, you put your hands on the dashboard. If you're in the back seat, you put your hands on the side window. Because, in bad areas, cops tend to be twitchy. Let's see, barricading himself in a local business. Okay, these are not the actions of a healthy man. And in the more civilized states in the country, that criminal behavior in possession of a firearm is enough to ensure they will never legally possess a firearm in that state again. Period. But not every state is that enlightened. And the ones that are not so civilized, they make it easy for people like this to still acquire a firearm, even though it should have been denied to them very, very clearly. And then there's the money problems. Despite running a reasonably successful business, he's irresponsible with money at best. He's got problems. And he's good at hiding them. It tells me, at the very least, he had a troubled childhood in a family that was good at hiding their problems. I could speculate. Could be low-level domestic violence. It could be functional addiction, functional alcoholism. It could be, and I hate to say it, a pervert uncle. But clearly this is somebody who was taught that they had to be high-functioning and they had to hide that there's something wrong from childhood. That's how somebody who's that much of a mess and that irresponsible with money can still have a successful business. The warning signs, if you know where to see them, are there. And this is a person who, if they were in a better situation, they had, access, that they'd been in mental health counseling, if they had been, raised in a better environment, if they were in a less codependent industry, probably could have been a very healthy and much more productive member of society. You saw how well he functions, he can run his own successful contracting business despite the fact that he's secretly a mess. Imagine what he could do if he wasn't secretly a mess. And, imagine how is he going to get his hands on an AK-47 if we actually start denying firearms to people who commit crimes in possession of firearms. Imagine, how much better things would be. The incident could potentially have never happened if you actually just start taking care of people. Now he's going to go to prison, and he belongs there. But he's not going to get better. And you know what? There's a lot of people who are just going to gloss over it and be like, look at them, those people, the bad guys. The liberals or the Dems are doing this. And then on the liberal or Dem side, it's going to be, this is a conspiracy or it's a hoax and whatever. Look, all I'm saying is that's a guy who never should have had access to a firearm. And he should have had access to mental health care. And that's a problem. This is a problem that got a lot closer to manifesting itself than it ever should have. You know, the Secret Service are necessary. The zone of protection extending out to 500 yards now is necessary, and that's just horrifying that that's necessary. And we can do better. Like, share, subscribe. Have a good day.